everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. We had our little MTD lawnmower out for a bit of a grass cutting test in it. It did okay, but there were definitely a few issues, so we're going to go ahead and have a look at that now. So that was all right. We had a good time. We mowed the grass, but you can see it's got a wicked oil leak. So we'll have to get into that and see. It's got a blown gasket or something, but right now it's just hot as a firecracker and I don't want to mess with it. So it can sit here for now and cool off, and we'll deal with that later. So we're going to do a little bit of investigating now and see if we can figure out where all the oil is coming from. It looks like it's underneath the carburetor here somewhere. So I'm going to, for the seconds it takes, I'm going to pop the air cleaner off and we'll get in there with a flashlight and just have a look around. I think our problem here is this cover, that little cover. So I'm going to pull the carburetor off and we'll have a look at that. We're going to take this cover off because I kind of wonder if that's where the oil's coming from. We'll see. Just held on with a couple of screws. So this gasket here, you can see this whole corner of it is missing. It goes into the valve box here. So we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned up and either get a new gasket or make one out of some goo or cut one out of a piece of cork or something and put it together, and that should solve our problem. All right, it's all back together now. I cut a new gasket out of just a piece of cereal box. That's good enough for this kind of stuff. And stuck it on there. So we'll fire it up, run it around a little bit and see what happens. So far, so good. I don't see any oil coming out of it. So I'm going to take it around a little bit, get it revved up and warmed up, and we'll see what happens. Well, looks like we got it. No oil going all over the place. We're all set. So what I got to do now is I got to double check the oil level because it's probably down a little bit. And then we got to get the headlights working, and we can put the hood back on it and a couple of panels. And we're getting there. Oh, we need a battery still. First thing that happened when I went over a little bit of uneven ground, the headlight lens fell out. There's only a few of the tabs, they've got like a barb on them and they go through and snap in. While they were all broken. So there's enough left of them to locate it, and then I put a little screw in on each side, and it hasn't come out since. That was an easy thing to fix. And then, despite the fact that it mows okay, it was really hard to mow because it wanders all over the place because the steering is just so wiped out in it. I bought a new joint for our drag link here, so we're going to go ahead and pop that on, and hopefully that'll tighten up the front end a bit, eh? Not much to it. We just loosen this jam nut, but not too much because we're going to butt the new one back to it so we don't mess up our setting. There's a nut underneath here, and that should do it. I think the stud on this is quite long, so we'll probably have to cut it off after we install it, but we can do that. So those have seen better days. Turns out the one back here at the sector was shot too. So they come as a pair, so we'll change them both. I just have to, you can see here, shorten up that one, but we'll be okay. Now we can see that's a lot better. There's still a little play, the interaction between the axle beam and the pin or the bushing or whatever's in the middle, but we've definitely taken a pretty big bite out of it. The actual tie rod, it's fine. It uses the same ends, and they're okay. They're still tight. Maybe they've already been changed once. So that's good. She should drive a lot better now. Now we've got a couple of problems with the deck that I've already fixed, but I'm going to explain to you what they were. The handle that holds the deck up and also turns it off, it would shake, or when the engine was running, this thing would pop and the deck would go down and turn on. So what I found was that from years and years and years, this right there, right? It had gotten kind of rounded off and lost its sharpness, and it would allow this handle, it's because it's got quite a bit of spring tension on it. So all I did was I got in there with a grinder and I made it nice and square and sharp again. So now when that's locked off, it stays locked off. But when it was turned off, remember we talked about this before, is the rust on the pulleys was keeping the blades kind of running at a slow speed. Well, even after it had run in and cleaned up the pulleys, the blades were still turning a little bit when I had the deck turned off. And you just don't want that. If the deck is turned off, it needs to be turned off. And then I remembered something about these old 38-inch lawnmowers. You see here on the top of the spindle pulley, it's got this extra little piece that is a big flat surface, and they call that the brake. So what happens is when you lift the deck, that brake on the pulley is supposed to contact this. It's just a piece of spring steel with a hunk of automotive brake lining riveted to it. And that's what's supposed to stop the spindles and keep them stopped even though the engine is running. So I don't know if over time, maybe some of the bushings and pins have gotten a little bit worn out and the deck wasn't pushing up against that as hard as it should be, or if these are worn away or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It wasn't doing its job. So all I did was I took out these two bolts and I took these brakes and I just put a little bit more bend in them so they've got a little more tension on them when the deck comes up, and I'll show you. Let me put the deck up. There we are. Now we'll go look at this thing again. Okay. Of course, it's not quite as easy to see, but come on. There's a good view of it. The brake friction material is actually pushing against the spindle, and the engine, even though it's turning now. So now, even when the engine's turning, I'm turning the crank pulley now, but the blades don't turn. So that's good. Another problem solved. Next thing we needed was a battery. Being a cheapskate that I am, I looked around trying to find a used one. And I did find a couple. These batteries now, these utility garden tractor batteries, whatever you want to call them, it's a group U1. By the time you buy one and pay their stupid core charge on it, out the door, it could be between $80 and $100, right? So anyway, I found some used ones on Marketplace for 30 or 40 bucks, but unfortunately, none of them were very close to home. And I couldn't justify, driving halfway across the province of Ontario to get a used battery. So what I did, I got myself a used one. I made a used battery. This one, you can see here, its recharge date is April of 2017. So for all intent and purpose, this battery is 7 years old. It was in my Ferris Pro Cut. It still works fine, but I said, I will buy a new battery for my Ferris Pro Cut and move the used one over to here. So this battery basically cost 20 bucks because there's a $20 core charge when I bought the new one. I didn't return one, so there you go. I got a battery for 20 bucks. At least that's how I'm justifying it to myself. Next thing I needed to deal with, these two yellow wires. This is the safety, yellow is the safety switch circuit on this. So basically, sorry, I have my finger in frame there. Basically, if you do something you're not supposed to, it grounds out the ignition and shuts the engine off. So they have decided that you shall not put the thing in reverse when you've got the mower deck turned on. So how they do that, they've just got this little, you see that little finger there. And if you, so that's your ignition. It's screwed into that, but you could see insulated from the tractor. But if you put this thing into reverse while the mower deck is on, it completes the circuit and grounds the ignition and shuts it down. So for now, I know everybody hates that, and the first thing everybody does is jump that. But for now, we're going to have it operational. Last thing I have to do with is this idler pulley. You'll remember we scoffed at paying $40 for a new one and decided we would try to use this one. Unfortunately, because it's a smaller diameter, it doesn't tension the belts correctly, and we don't get first and second gear. We only get from third up. So I'm going to get the correct one, and we will swap it in. Okay, here it is. We got our new idler pulley. It was $35 plus tax. Man, they get you coming, they get you going, eh? So we're going to go ahead, get that guy out of there, get this one in, and see how that changes things. There we go. Got our new pulley in. It seems to take up a lot more of the belt, so let's see if we get first and second gear back. I might need... Oh, no, I should be able to get this thing started with one hand, shouldn't I? Well, so far so good. We went out there and mowed the barnyard, or whatever you want to call it, and it's got lots of power. It cuts nice. It's easy to steer. So I'm just going to check it over, and I'll throw some more fuel in it and go do some more. Having the properly sized idler pulley in there made a huge difference. Now we get all 7 gears. I had to fiddle around with, there's a bit of linkage underneath there. I had to fiddle around with it to get it working perfectly. And I can't even explain what I did. I just kind of, by trial and error, monkeyed with it till we got it right. But anyway, yeah, she's a going concern now. Back to the grass. Well, that'll wrap up that little project. We got this little guy working great, man. I was out there mowing yesterday. The grass was tall, and it was heavy, and it was kind of moist. And it just plowed through it like nothing. It's got lots of power. It's only 12 horsepower, but it makes good use of it. I'm very happy with how it's turned out. I'm glad that we took this thing from certain doom, pushing up daisies in the scrapyard, to back out there doing what it was made to do, cut grass. There was a lot wrong with it. I still can't figure out how the thing ended up with so much wrong with it. Because I found several things that would have stopped it from working, yet, I don't know how all those things could have gone wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're all fixed now. I only bought this thing in the beginning because I saw this little shifter here in front of the seat, and I knew it was one of those old pulley-driven MTD tractors that are just indestructible. And this guy proved it, because it was like junk. But we were able to get it going again because it is such a good tractor. These things, I told you at the beginning, I mean, they've literally made these things for decades. And as far as I know, they still make them today. They all look different. I mean, there was Craftsman ones. Everybody under the sun sold their own version of them. They put different sheet metal and paint them different colors. But it's all the same basic stuff underneath. Man, these things are indestructible. It's not as nice to drive as a hydrostat, with the shuttle pedal, but once you get used to it, it's fine. Anyway, I'm very happy with it. I'm going to go now. I would like to thank you, as always, for tuning into the Claremont Classic Garage. I hope you'll come back and see us again next time, And until then, I'm Kevin saying so long for now.